What's going on, guys? So in today's video, I want to give you a very detailed step-by-step guide on how I would become a pro in 2022. I'm going to imagine that I have my current skill set. I'm still a professional level footballer, but I just have to start from scratch. This means that I'll have no connections to pro coaches, no old teammates to hit up, no agents that I have on my phone, no highlight film, no CV, nothing. And I'd show you the exact plan that I would do to return to the pro level within the next year or so. Now, before we get into my step-by-step guide, I want to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of this video, LMNT. LMNT is a delicious electrolyte drink mix with everything that you need and nothing that you don't. That means that there is a ton of salt in here with no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, and no BS. When you work out, when you train, you sweat. And when you sweat, the main electrolyte that you lose is sodium. Athletes can lose up to 7 grams of sodium per day. And when that sodium isn't replaced in your body, it's common to experience muscle cramps and fatigue. LMNT can help prevent these and other common symptoms of electrolyte deficiency because it contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of 1,000 milligrams of sodium to 100 milligrams of potassium and 60 milligrams of magnesium. On the hottest days here in South Carolina, I will lose up to 6 to 7 pounds of sweat just through our rigorous training sessions. And I have teammates that have lost up to 10 pounds of sweat. In all of that sweat lost, we are losing tons and tons of sodium. So after training in the locker room and when I get back home, I'll grab an LMNT pack, I'll put it in some water just so I can replenish some of that water and sodium that I've lost. By doing this, I'm helping my body prevent muscle cramps and fatigue, and I'm also replenishing all the electrolytes that I need back into my body so I can go just as hard in tomorrow's session. As an added bonus, it also tastes great. Even if you're not an athlete, it's still very important to get electrolytes in your system and maintain that proper fluid balance within your body. And right now, LMNT is offering my listeners a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single serving packets free with any LMNT order. This is a great way to try all 8 LMNT flavors or share LMNT with a salty friend. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/elite. This deal is only available through my link, and you must go to drinklmnt.com/elite. Thank you once again, LMNT, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to how I'd become a pro if I were to start from scratch. Step 1, find a semi-pro team. The first thing that crosses my mind is I want to get back into a team environment. Doesn't need to be professional. I don't care about that. I just want to be back playing with a team, playing 11v11 games, developing under a coach, and in that environment. Here in the United States, I'm looking at the UPSL, the NPSL, and the USL League 2. But also the time of the year is going to affect which teams that I go for. The UPSL, for example, actually has 2 seasons per calendar year. The first season goes from about March through July, and then the second season goes from September through December. While the NPSL and the USL League 2 just have 1 season that goes from about March through end of July, maybe early August. So if it's January through July, I'm going to reach out to teams in all 3 of those leagues, but if it's August through December, I might just be going for UPSL teams. To find UPSL teams, all I'm going to do is just go to premier.upsl.com. I'm going to click the teams tab, and then I'm just going to enter in the state that I live in. There's so many UPSL teams out here in the United States, which is fantastic, so I can be a little bit more refined with my search. I don't have to be looking at teams across the country, hopefully. Then all I'm going to do is just do my research on all these teams that pop up. I'm just going to click on the team logo, I'll go to their website, I'll research the head coach, I'll research their roster, and I'll do some digging to see if I can find contact information for anybody within the club. A lot of these teams will have contact forms on their website, ways that you can send in your highlight film, ways that you can even look up open tryout dates. But I'm also going to be looking up the head coaches directly, maybe DMing them on Instagram, looking up an email if I can find one, and also seeing if I can connect with them on like LinkedIn as well. Once I got the contact form on their website, or once I found an email of a technical director or a head coach or even a LinkedIn profile, then I'm going to send the following message. Hey, name a coach, GM, technical director, or whatever. My name is Matt Sheldon. I am a 30-year-old right back / right midfielder, and I currently live in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm looking to join a UPSL team for this season. Would it be possible for me to join in on a training session or come out on trial with their team name? Please let me know. Thank you so much for your time. Now, since I don't have a highlight film or a CV, my success rate isn't going to be the best. A lot of times these coaches are going to take one look at the email and they're either not going to reply to it, or the first email they reply with is going to be, yeah, sure, shoot me your highlight video so I can take a look at you. So I know this is not the ideal situation, but hopefully I'll have one coach that's desperate, in need for players, and is going to invite me out without me sending a highlight video or CV. I'm also going to keep track of everything on like a big Google spreadsheet. I'm going to have each team there. there. I'm gonna have their head coach's name. I'm going to have where their team is actually located. I'll have maybe a technical director and GM if I can find them. All the contact information I found, as well as even like open tryout dates, their interest level, and where I've contacted or if I've contacted them yet. When you're doing this and you're sending out tons of different emails to coaches, GMs, different, assistant coaches, whatever, it can get really, really convoluted. And you can kind of forget who you've messaged or what they said or their interest level or whatever. So I like to keep a very organized list of all of this just so I don't get confused and send the wrong message to the wrong coach or forget that a coach has invited me into an open tryout or invited me into a training session. And I've already kind of hinted at it, but ideally, the best case scenario is if one of these coaches invites me in to train with the team. But like I said, not having highlight video or CV, a lot of coaches might be wary with that. So I'm perfectly fine attending an open tryout if need be. I'm not gonna turn my nose up at these open tryouts. I'd probably send out these messages and do this full Google spreadsheet for every single UPSL team within like a 2 to 3 hour drive of my home city. I'd then repeat the exact same process for teams in the NPSL and the USL League 2. For NPSL teams, you can go to npsl.com/teams. And for the USL League 2, you can go to uslleague2.com/league-teams. There are fewer NPSL and USL League 2 teams just generally in America versus UPSL teams. So I might even extend like my driving radius out to like 4 or 5 hours from my home city. I know there's somebody out there right now who's thinking that's unrealistic, or they're looking at their schedule and they're like, no, 4 or 5 hour drive is ridiculous. But like that's sometimes what you have to do in order to push up to a higher level. Back in 2015, I was training with Sacramento Republic. They were in the USL Championship as a professional team, but I was just a training player and I would train with them Monday through Friday. And then immediately after training on Friday, I would drive down 5 to 6 hours from Sacramento, California, all the way down to Ventura, down near LA. I'd get to the team apartments around like 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes a little bit later. I'd have dinner with the team in those apartments. I'd sleep, spend the night, and then the next evening we'd play the game down there with the Ventura County Fusion. As soon as the game ended Saturday night, I'm hopping back in my car and I'm driving the full 5-6 hours back up to Sacramento. I would get home at like 3 a.m. I'd pass out, I'd sleep pretty much all day Sunday, and then I'd wake up again Monday morning, come back in for training with the Sacramento Republic that Monday morning. It was an absolute grind, but I knew that I was gonna get the best exposure playing for this USL League 2 team in Ventura, and I knew that I also was gonna develop really good contacts and develop my game by training with this professional team up in Sacramento. So it's just one of those things you have to realize that as you go higher and higher and there's fewer teams, you sometimes need to be willing to make those sacrifices. The last thing that I'm gonna do during this time is I'm going to make like a plan of action. I'm gonna have a big calendar and I'm gonna plan out the next month, 2 months, especially during those off-season transition times between one season to the next season. I'm gonna be planning out the 4 or 5 open tryouts that I'm going to be attending. Hopefully by sending out all these messages and emails and contacting these UPSL, NPSL, and USL League 2 teams, hopefully I've gotten some interest from some coaches. And some coaches have responded, yeah, I'd love to take a look at you, come to this open tryout. And maybe if I'm lucky, they'll even waive that tryout fee for me, or they'll even invite me into like an invite-only combine, or maybe just straight into preseason. But regardless, I'm gonna have my calendar and I'm gonna plan out those weekends or weeks or whenever it is, planning out which open tryouts I'm attending, which invite combines I've been invited to, and what preseason invites I've gotten. Step 2, compile a highlight video as quickly as possible. By now, I've made one of these semi-professional teams either through an open tryout, an invite-only combine, or just a preseason invite or an invite into training. I've made the team and now it's all about performing. Now my primary goal is to get into like 10 plus games throughout the season and then get like 20 to 30 high quality highlights from those games that I play in. Most UPSL, NPSL, and USL League 2 teams will record their games. The quality and the professionalism of their broadcasting is going to vary a ton, but most teams will record their games. You might have a USL League 2 team that's extremely professional and has a full broadcasting team with professional cameras everywhere and announcers. While on the other hand, you might have a smaller UPSL team that just does a camcorder in the stands or a VO cam. And to be honest, when I'm selecting teams, when I'm looking for which team I'm actually going to come into preseason with or even sign with, that's going to be a huge determining factor about which team I end up playing for. And hopefully, since I was so thorough with my research during the offseason and sent so many emails and contacted so many coaches and attended so many open tryouts and just did all the behind the scenes work, hopefully I'll be able to choose. I'll have multiple teams to choose from, and I can base my decision off of which team feels the most professional and is going to help me create that best highlight video. It honestly might sound kind of shallow for me to say that, where that's one of my main focus points that I'm looking for. And of course, I'm still looking to develop as a player and I'm looking to be on a good team. But that is the thing that I need from this year in the semi-pro level. My main goal is to come down here for one season, make a good highlight video, professional looking highlight video, and push on. And I know that a professional looking highlight video from a professional broadcast with announcers is going to look that much better to pro teams or even other semi-pro teams than a single camcorder zoomed out on a tripod. Both can still work, but I know which one's gonna help me more. Step 3, create the highlight video and CV. At this stage now, hopefully I've performed for my semi-professional team. I've played an entire season, I've played in 10 plus games, and I have 20 to 30 highlights from my season. This is the stage where I'm going to be spending even more time probably on my computer, preparing everything, getting everything sorted before I push up to the pro level than I am even on the field training. First things first, I'm creating my highlight video. If I have zero skills, I've never edited anything before, I don't know how to use iMovie, then I'm for sure gonna pay a professional company to make this highlight video for me. It's actually pretty cheap. You can find these companies from like 100 to probably like 300 bucks or so. You just send them all of your highlights and they do the rest. And I'm telling you, it will save you hours and hours and hours trying to make something that looks even 10% as good as what they can make. However, if I am good with iMovie, good at making my own stuff, then I will create my own highlight video all by myself. I have tons of videos and tons of content on how to create highlight videos and what they should look like, which I will link in the description. But to sum up, you should have an intro page that shows who you are, your stats, your bio, stuff like that. The video should be 4 to 6 minutes long and put all of your best clips at the very beginning. Once that's created, I'm then gonna create my CV. Your CV is pretty much just your resume as a footballer. And since I have to start from scratch, my CV is going to be very short. Once again, I have a full video on how to make a CV. These are relatively straightforward, but I will link it in the description if you want to check that out. Step 4, compile a contact list of professional teams and coaches. I'm starting a new spreadsheet now, this time for professional teams and professional coaches. I love a good spreadsheet. It's kind of nerdy, but it's so important to keep everything organized and just to keep you on top of things. I'm now going to do the same thing that I did with semi-professional teams and coaches, but this time at the professional level. I'll be looking at NISA, USL League One, USL Championship, and MLS Next Pro teams. For NISA, I'll head to nisaofficial.com and you can see there's like 14 teams at the top. Those are the 14 teams in the NISA. And by clicking on those, you will go to their individual websites. Once again, on their websites, you'll be able to find who the head coach is, who the assistant coaches are, maybe who the technical director of the club is, maybe even general manager, as well as open tryout dates, sometimes a contact form, and maybe even a place where you can submit your highlight video for the team to take a look at. A lot of times that contact form is just a general email that goes to an intern in the front office and not really directly to the head coach, but you can still try it out and send out an email. You never know. But the best way, honestly, is to look up the head coach, find their name, and then to find them on LinkedIn or find their email address somewhere out there on the internet. Professional teams and professional coaches in general are much harder to contact and much harder to find online than with semi-professional teams, just because already they get bombarded with so many emails from players and agents and teams. So they're very selective with reading emails. But again, all it takes is one coach to take a chance on you. And when I do reach out to these coaches, this is the email that I usually write. Hey, name of coach, my name is Matt Sheldon. I'm a 30-year-old right back / right midfielder who last played for my previous semi-pro team, and I'm looking to play at the professional level. Last season, I would list out some stats and accolades from the previous season, and I have attached my highlight video and CV to this email. I'm looking for an opportunity with the team name. Please let me know if you're interested in talking further. Once I send off that email, I'd update my spreadsheet so I keep everything organized, and I would just keep on rinsing and repeating. Once I go through all the teams in the NISA, I'm doing the same exact thing for MLS Next Pro clubs, for USL Championship clubs, and for USL League One clubs. For MLS Next Pro teams, you can head to mlsnextpro.com/clubs. For USL League One clubs, you can go to uslleague1.com/league-teams. And for USL Championship teams, you can head to uslchampionship.com/league-teams. If you're doing this correctly and you're researching every single team, every single coach, every single assistant coach, the goalkeeper coach, the technical director, the GM, it's gonna take hours and hours and hours. And you're really only gonna find contact information for like a quarter, a third of the teams out there. But again, we really are just taking shots in the dark. And the more shots you take in the dark, the more likely one of them is gonna hit. I'm also going to heavily consider attending open tryouts for these professional teams, but I'm gonna be very smart about the clubs that I do it for. If I'm taking a look in the mirror in this example, I'm looking at myself and I'm seeing a talented professional level player who's only had one season at the semi-professional level. I know that I'm not the hottest commodity on the market right now. If I know I have the time and the money this offseason to go to 4 or 5 open tryouts, I'm not going to be going to the #1 ranked USL championship team that's killing it with the biggest budget in the entire league and is probably going to re-sign 90%, 80% of their team for next year. Most likely, they're not looking to bring anybody in from that open tryout. They might not even be having open tryouts. The first teams that I'm looking to pay for an open tryout for are teams that I've gotten in contact with and have shown me a little bit of interest. If I've sent an email or a DM on LinkedIn or whatever to a NISA coach and that coach replies and says, yeah, Matt, I like your highlight video. You look good. I'd love to take another look at you. Then that would be a team I would 100% consider going to an open trial. And hopefully, if they're very serious in me, they'll even waive the fee or they'll invite me into an invite-only combine or tryout. So there's no payment at all. But regardless, that is a team that I would really consider traveling to and paying for an open tryout. The next teams that I would highly consider are expansion teams. Teams that are just coming into the league, just getting promoted up to the professional level and have 0 players signed. If you attend one of those open tryouts, they could be looking to fill 5, 6, 7 spots on their roster just from that tryout. After that, I'm looking at bottom of the table clubs, especially NISA clubs or USL League One clubs, more independent clubs. So hopefully in this off-season period, I will have my 4 or 5 open tryouts booked up. Hopefully I might get 1 or 2 waived from the coach. I might even have an invite-only combine that I'm attending, but I'll have my calendar booked up before the start of the next season. And finally, I'm looking at these open tryouts the same exact way as I look at sending out cold emails. Most likely nothing will come of it, but it's not gonna hurt, and it's better than just sitting on the couch doing nothing. The main focus to get that pro contract is really gonna be step number 5. Step number 5, compile a list of agents. Agents can be a huge, huge help in bridging that gap between the semi-professional level and the professional level. An agent's entire job is building relationship and building connections at the professional level. And usually all it takes is one good recommendation from them, and then you're in with a team on trial. But what most people don't understand, in order to get that good recommendation from the agent, you need to build their trust and get them to believe that you can be a professional footballer. To research agencies, you can use Google, Instagram, LinkedIn, and literally just type in football agent USA. However, my favorite way is to go to transfermarkt.com. If you guys haven't heard of Transfermarkt, it's a fantastic site. You can basically research every single league, team, coach, player that plays professionally pretty much anywhere in the world. And if you click on a specific player, many times they will have their agency or even their specific agent linked in their description. If you click on that agent or agency, you actually can then even see a full list of players they represent, where they play, and their market value. You can then Google that agency and usually go to their website to find a contact form, email, way to reach out to those agents. And most of the time, reaching out to those agents is much, much more easy than reaching out to a professional coach or team. So then all you have to do is go to NISA, USL Championship, USL League One, or MLS Next Pro teams, look at those players, see who their agents are, then you can start hitting them up and shooting them emails. When you're ready, send them the following message. Hey, name of agent, my name is Matt Sheldon. I'm a 30-year-old right back / right midfielder who last played for my previous semi-pro team, and I'm looking to play at the professional level. Last season, I list out some stats, accolades from the previous season, and I've also attached my highlight video and CV to this email. I'm looking for representation as I push up to the next level, and I would love it if you could look for teams on my behalf. Please let me know if you're interested in talking further. Thank you. If possible, try not to just get locked in right away with one agent. I try to get multiple agents looking for teams on my behalf at one time, and then I just tell the agents that if they get me a professional contract, then I'll sign with them for the next year or 2 years or whatever. In past off seasons, I've created a list of 40 to 50 agencies doing exactly this on Transfermarkt, and then I hit all of them up with a personalized email, and then out of those 40 or 50 emails that I send off, I might get a response from 10, 15 of them, and then out of those 10 or 15, I might get 6 or 7 actually looking for teams for me. And then from those 6 or 7 agents, I get 1, 2, maybe 3 that actually present me with opportunities and trials. Then based off the best opportunities or who actually gets me a contract, I sign with that agent for the next year. And finally, when you're researching agents, again, be smart about this. Don't go to Real Madrid's first team and look at the agents that represent those guys. Don't even go to an MLS club and look at the agents that represent those guys. Look at the teams and the leagues that you're actually at the level of and that you're trying to break into, and look at those agents. Because Benzema's agent, who's making millions of dollars off of him alone, is not even going to waste a second of his breath on you looking for a Nisa contract where he's going to make $250. Take a look in the mirror, be realistic about it, and hit up agents that operate in the teams and leagues that you're actually going to break into. I'd also highly, highly recommend looking into teams and leagues that operate in that in-between stage of like semi-pro football and professional football. On these teams, you'll have some players that are on fully professional contracts, and then you'll have others that are not. Most countries are going to have teams and leagues that look like this, but for example, you can look at the New Zealand National League in the first tier of New Zealand, the National Premier Leagues in the second and third tier of Australia, the Regionalliga in the fourth tier of Germany, or like I'm going to say this wrong, the Kokkonen, I don't know how to say it, but in the third tier of Finland. The same exact process that you do for agents in America, you do the same exact thing for those teams over abroad. You look at those teams that play in those leagues. Hopefully you can find some agents that operate for those players in those leagues, hit them up, shoot them an email, and see if they can do anything for you. I think the hardest jump, obviously, in football is that jump from semi-pro football to fully professional football, because there's this huge bottleneck of thousands and thousands, if not millions, of semi-professional level players bottlenecked into going into such a few amount of professional teams. So I think going abroad into those gray area zones where it's kind of a semi-pro team, but you're getting paid, you're getting a fully pro contract, but the whole team's not really fully pro, I think that's a great area to go to, gain experience, build up your resume, and then try to come back into America and push up to the pro level, or push up to a fully pro level elsewhere. And finally, step 6, rinse and repeat. Usually this process isn't just like 1 week that you grind it out, finish, and then you just see what happens. Usually you have to stay very active and keep on researching for the entirety of off-season or the entirety of your full free agency spell. So anyway, that is my full blueprint. That is my step-by-step guide on how I would go about signing a new contract, professional level contract in 2022 if I were to just completely start over. It's obviously a lot easier said here than done. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort. You have to be very comfortable with rejection and even very comfortable in creating an email and working on it for an hour, if not more, sending it off and realizing there's a 99% chance that that guy's never even going to take a look at it. But if you keep on working, you keep on throwing out all of these fishing lines into the water, you're going to get a bite, and you will eventually get your break into the professional level if you are a professional level player. So anyway, guys, I hope this video helps. I hope you got something from it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, guys, peace.